Hi, I'm Jeff Brandis, and welcome to Heart and Mind Mondays, where we take the most challenging day of the week to set your heart and mind up for success. I am both thrilled and honored to introduce to you our guest of success this week. It's Dr. Anita Marcassani, and I'm really honored that we both have a lot in common in the world of mindset and psychology. Dr. Anita is a peak performance coach, a leadership coach. She puts great emphasis on the psychology of money, the psychology of happiness, and much, much more. So, the Heart and Mind of Success community, I'd like to introduce to you our guest of success today, Dr. Anita Marcassani.
Thank you so much. It's so good to be here.
Hi, Anita. Welcome to Heart and Mind Mondays.
Thank you for this.
So, psychology. I'm fascinated by it. I know you're fascinated by it.
Very much.
When did it become a passion? When did you decide that maybe this could be a profession? Tell us a little bit about the story of Dr. Anita.
Yeah. I was one of those irritating people in high school. I always knew what I wanted to be. I always was fascinated by behavior, human behavior, why people do what they do, why people change, under what circumstances they don't change, all that. So I always knew I wanted to be a psychologist, always. So I just went right through, and when you know the end point, it makes all the decisions pretty easy. You know what you need to do. Having that focus really helps. So I had to get my PhD, and do all the stuff involved with that, and yeah, so here I am. So it
sounds easy.
Yeah. Everybody can just do it. Actually, everybody can do it if you really want. It wasn't easy. That's probably an overstatement. But getting a PhD is not easy. But being focused and being motivated and knowing really what I wanted to do with my life helps. Gives a little bit of the oomph to the drudgery of doing a dissertation, for instance. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. Everyone, when they look at entrepreneurs from the outside, they see the successful entrepreneur. They don't, unless they get to know you, they don't know the inside.
Yeah.
They don't know the struggles, the obstacles, the mountains to climb to be the best that you can be.
Yeah.
And if I can put you on the spot here a little bit, if there's anything that you can share with the audience, any struggle that comes to your mind, any major obstacle, or any time where you experienced doubt and fear and overwhelm, like you think that you couldn't create what you wanted to create with your practice.
Yeah, definitely. There's one very specific time in my career that happened. So I've always known I wanted to be a psychologist, always. And I dedicated my whole life to making that happen. And, it's not easy. You have to work really hard and excel a lot in school, so I was very studious. I was very much of a nerd. I spent a lot of time, studying really hard, and that's what you're going to do. And I got into graduate school, and that's a very, there's a lot of anxiety-provoking moments along my journey. Am I going to get into graduate school? Am I going to get into one that I like, in a geographic area that's convenient, all that sort of stuff. So there's all these anxieties. But the biggest issue was I had worked really hard to get my PhD. I had a faculty position at a major teaching hospital on the East Coast, and I had built up a very big practice. I was supervising pre-doctoral interns, postdocs, medical students. I was teaching. I was working a lot with medical patients. That was my area of specialization, working with chronic pain patients, cancer, heart disease. And I loved it.
Wow.
Yeah, I loved it. That intersection between the mind and the body, and how all that works, and helping people cope with their very serious medical conditions. I loved it, and I was good at it. And basically, I burned out, and I burned out at a very young age. So what had happened was I had dedicated my whole life with this goal in mind, and then by the time I'm 32, here I had reached the goal that my whole life had been centered around, this ideal I was there, and I kind of woke up one morning and realized I couldn't do it anymore because I was burned out. And when you're burned out, you can't do it anymore, whatever it is that you're burned out from. And that was a really tough time. For about a year or a year and a half, I struggled a lot with what am I going to do now with my life? I mean, I never entertained doing anything other than what I was doing.
Wow.
And it was a big identity crisis, for lack of a better word. And it was rough. It was very rough.
Well, the scary part is if you have accomplished what you accomplished, and then you're burnt out because of it,
yeah.
Then you're thinking, well, where do I go from here?
What could I possibly do next?
What am I going to do now
right.
for the rest of my life?
Right. I mean,
That's scary.
It was not fun. It was a real struggle. It was very, very scary. For someone who is I'm very goal directed. I'm an ambitious person. I like to achieve. I like to set goals, make things happen, all that sort of stuff. And then when you don't know what to do, I mean, I even thought, should I go to medical school? Should I go to law school? I mean, I was really realizing I have to do a career change here. This is not just, well, do I get another job at another hospital or whatever? I was done. And right around that time is when personal coaching became very, in vogue
mm-hmm.
and very chic. And this was, I guess, in the early 2000s, late 1990s, somewhere around there. And I thought, well, that actually makes makes a lot of sense for me to transition with what I'm doing now, take my education, training, experience, all that sort of thing, and just move it into a completely different realm of people. So I still can use all of my talents, all of my strengths, all of my education that I've acquired and experienced, but just work with a completely different set of people and a different set of goals. And that's what I did. So I kind of made that happen. So it took about a year to shut down my practice, because when you have a therapy practice, you can't just go in one day and lock the door. It doesn't work that way.
Transition.
Yeah, I just take care of my patients and and find somebody to replace me and all that sort of stuff. And in the meantime, I also did some training, some coach-specific training, because therapy is very different than coaching, and to learn how to interact differently and even how to think differently. I mean, when you're dealing with people who, for the most part, are they don't have problems with depression or anxiety. Not that they never have those issues, but it's not overwhelming them to the point where they need to see a psychologist, certainly. So working with kind of a different level of functioning, I guess, so to speak, I needed to change my mind shift,
Okay.
And kind of how I approach people very differently. So it was great. It was exciting. It was very energizing and fun, because I was still doing what I love to do, but in a totally new realm, and I could learn all kinds of new stuff and work with new people.
How cool is it when that light bulb goes on?
Yeah,
It
it's
just
great.
takes like you can breathe.
Yes.
The pressure goes off.
You're lighter. Yep.
Even though you're sad a little bit about the therapy practice going away,
Yeah.
that's not where your focus is anymore.
Right.
Your focus is forward.
Yeah. And when you make a decision that you know is the right decision, even if it's a tough decision to make. I mean, because for me to go in and hand in my resignation to a medical director at a prestigious, teaching hospital, that I feel like it took a lot of courage for me, because that's just not.
Now, did anybody there question you about that? Like, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah, I worried that was going to happen,
Okay.
because you're in a high pressure academic career situation, and I was very concerned about that. But nobody said that to me. Everyone was very kind. I was surrounded by really good people, which is one of the reasons I loved doing what I was doing. I was working with good people. But
how about this? How about family or friends? Did they, I guess, express their lack of confidence or their insecurity?
Oh, yeah.
Because, wait a minute, you're going from this kind of a controlled atmosphere of having that practice, little security,
Yep,
maybe.
very much so.
Now you're going into starting a whole different kind of practice that's out there a little bit.
Yeah,
where
and very different to market too.
you got to
and,
create a whole new marketing pie.
Yeah,
They're not necessarily coming to you. You got to let people know what you're doing and what you're all about,
Yep.
that kind of thing.
And I had to learn all about how to do that. I did have people.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Did anybody ever tell you that you just flat out, this is not going to work? You need to stay with your therapy practice?
No, nobody ever told me
Okay,
that.
nobody
And I don't know if
did-
it's because
okay.
of the personality type that I have, that people kind of know that I get a little bit.
You're a strong-willed
stubborn.
woman.
I am. I am. I probably don't project that, but I really am. I get very stubborn with things, and so I don't think anyone would think to say that to me.
Well, it just, a lot of us at any crossroads of success, there is that self-doubt and, that anxiety of, well, am I good enough
Yes.
to go in this new direction?
Yes.
Do I have what it takes?
Absolutely.
Even though we feel really confident and really good at it, there's still that creeps in every now and then.
Always,
So.
and especially in the coaching field, you have the really big name coaches, who've done some like incredible things, and then I go, well, how am I going to get to there? Like, how am I going to get clients? How I have credentials, but I don't have the name behind me yet.
It's funny that you say that. That just automatically reminded me of a quote, and I can't remember off the top of my head who said it, but I wish I could remember. But it said, every expert started out as a beginner.
Huh. Yes.
So if you want to be the best that you can be, remember that there is a starting point, and you start from wherever you are, and you just start it now, and you don't wait, and realize that you can be an expert in your passionate field of interest, and it's okay to be a beginner. So
Always.
I don't mean to interject, but that just kind of reminded me that during that transition.
Yeah, because although I had a lot of credentials, I wasn't a coach before, and that it is a different skill set, and you start to think, well, how am I ever going to get there? And with so many coaches out in the marketplace, how am I going to differentiate myself and all that sort of stuff? So yeah, it was scary.
Now, since you have reached this point of success, kind of at one point and then down, and I would say you've reached that point again without burnout.
Right. Yep.
Right.
I'm careful this time. Yeah. Yeah.
What does success mean to you then? When you hear that word, what feelings kind of stir up? What emotions stir up?
Right. More than emotions, I guess, I start thinking about ambitions. So for me, success is a very personal thing. Every person defines success for themselves. So it's whatever they think it to be. But I think, for everybody to look at someone and say and agree, oh yeah, that person is successful, there are some, I think some common things that happen. And the big one being setting a goal and then reaching it, and like a big goal. Starting your own business and then pushing yourself out there in order to get the clients or customers, whatever it is, to come to you, and to kind of be always in that mode of putting yourself out there. I talk a lot about leadership because really, ultimately, success is all about personal leadership, meaning leaders go first. Okay, to me, there's lots of definitions of what is a leader and what makes good leaders, etc. But in my mind, a leader goes first. And if you are a strong leader, then you're going to be very successful along the way because people are going to follow you then. And to me, that's what makes a successful person, is someone who's a strong, effective leader, who puts out a message in whatever they're passionate about and says, this is what I'm putting out there, and I want to create a whole, kind of universe of people who believe this with me. Come along, and we'll make it happen together. And that's the sort of thing that I think is very successful. Whenever you see anybody do that, with Richard Branson, or Bill Gates, that's what they do. They go first and they say, I'm gonna start this thing, and I want a lot of people to come with me and help me make this happen. And I have this vision, and then kind of, creating an energy behind it that makes it happen. That's what success is. And so, for me, it's creating this little business, and and watching it grow and continually pushing out and in new areas. For other people, it's building a new airline or something. Yeah.
Well, that's a great thing about doing these success interviews, is because I get to find out, who I think they're successful. That's why I want to interview them and present their story to my audience. And it's nice to hear all the different versions of success.
Definitely.
Some people flat out say it's money. Some people flat out just say, I just want to be happy,
right.
And feel joy in whatever I'm doing, and that kind of thing. And you've pinpointed, you're a little more specific about leadership, and so it's really a lot of fun dealing with that.
Good, I'm sure. Yeah, getting a lot of different.
So we think of Dr. Anita Marcassani and your peak performance practice, right? What would be your vision of self, or the vision of your practice, your future vision?
Yeah.
Do you have anything like stirring up the wheels spinning now?
Yes.
From what this might look like within the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Actually, I wanna be at a higher kind of a higher platform or stronger platform. So I'm in the process of writing a book. Actually,
Alright.
another book, and that's important to me. And getting a wider audience and being able to touch more people.
Okay.
So I call it, in my head, I want to create a little empire. So
I like
feel
that,
like
empire.
yeah. I feel like I'm
There's power.
successful. There's a lot of energy behind that idea. And but that's what I want to do. I want to create that, and not for me, but to really kind of empower people who are really interested in their own success and defining it and then creating it and making it happen. And so that's what I want to do, because I have a good reputation. I get all my clients now pretty much from word of mouth, and that's pretty nifty. People all over the country have heard of me and are calling me. That's a good place to be.
Gee, all over the country now.
Yeah.
Now you got to go from national to international.
International, right? Yeah. I hadn't thought about that. But that's what an empire would do, I suppose, is go up
Just
outside
one
the
small
bounds.
step.
Yeah.
Phone lines go international.
Canada, Mexico.
Skype goes
right,
international,
sure
right?
does,
Yeah,
sure does,
it's easier now than ever.
Yeah. So that's my goal. I want to I want to talk to bigger crowds. I want to reach more people with kind of a coherent message of, you can do this too. You really can.
All right, someone's watching this video right now who has a passion like us, and they want to help people be the best that they can be.
Mm-hmm.
Any words of wisdom? How they can get started?
Yeah. One of the keys to success is focus. It's learning how to manage distractions and be focused on what the important things are to make a particular goal happen. So if you have a passion and want to help other people tap into theirs and really, create success in their own lives, it's very important to craft that message and to know what it is that you're helping people do, and to be able to explain that in a way that people can understand. So, sometimes it's using words like peak performance or building an empire or something that triggers an idea in the person that you're talking to in their mind, where they can say,
I like
oh,
saying
yeah.
trigger an emotion, a feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Good
And
marketing helps.
So when you get out of you know what you want to do when you get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
There's a desire.
Yes.
To
And
do that.
the most important thing too is you need to personally do it in your life. So and you don't need to be perfect by any imagination, but if you want to help people excel and succeed, it's a self-leadership issue. You want to make sure that you're doing those things too. Constantly pushing yourself forward, learning new things, learning the right things, and I say that because sometimes people, they're busy doing a lot of stuff, but they're not doing the stuff that's generating forward motion. And you want to do the right things, not just work for work's sake, but you want to be productive. And so it's very important that you do that yourself, and then people will notice that, and they'll be much more likely to want to work with you. That would be my advice.
If people want to get in contact with you, how do they do that?
Yeah.
You're on Facebook, you're on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. I am on Twitter. I don't do Twitter quite as much. Twitter's very time consuming. Okay. It's great, but it takes a lot of time. I'm definitely on Facebook. If you search for Dr. Anita, my page is Dr. Anita, Your Thought Partner. That's ANITA. Your Thought Partner, and I update my page about every day, just about. And you can also email me at Anita, ANITA, at dr-anita.com. That's dr-anita.com.
Okay.
And that's my website too, dr-anita.com.
Great stuff. Yeah. So, if you are ready to have your performance peaked, and you're ready to find out what it means to be a leader in your own life before you become a leader of others, don't be shy and reach out to Dr. Anita Marcassani. Perhaps you guys are the right fit. Perhaps you resonate with one another, and perhaps she can change your life forever. To the heart and mind of your success, I can't wait to see you next Monday.